Franz went 1 for 15 in this game 7 against Cleveland. And now 1 minute into the game, about a minute 20 in, he gets Max Strus on a switch. And this right here is exactly what has caused him to have not just a bad game 7, but a bad year. This season, he dropped down 8% from the three-point range. I don't know why. I don't know how it even transpired, but he dropped 8%. And that percentage has also translated in how much he has dropped in terms of performance when the game mattered the most. Being up by as much as 18 points. Runs like this from any team is inevitable because basketball is a game of runs. You got Karis LeVert comes down, gets into the lane, gets that tough 2 on Jonathan Isaac. And now you got this action on this right side inside 2 minutes. Jalen Suggs throws that pass to Paulo. Boom, that goes out of bounds. Right? It seems like things are getting really bad, and we know the results, so it kind of did get a little bad. But this is inevitable. Basketball is a game of runs, like I said. You got Karis LeVert, who's averaging 6 points per game on the series, come in this game and have double-digit scoring, have a spark off the bench. He gets that bucket. And now, boom, game is at 11, right? 11-point lead. Skip over to Sam Merrill. He hits a transition 3. Make that 8, right? Cut the lead in more than half, right? But now, how do you combat that run? That's the real question. And that's what the great teams are able to do. And they're able to run the proper plays so that they could be able to kill those runs, kill that momentum, and be able to maintain a lead. But it's not just about maintaining it for that time and place. It's about being able to sustain it. And the Magic, in this point, were able to put a bandage on a 3-inch open wound. Because when the second half came around, they ain't have nothing. But for what it is right now, let me show you how they're able to how they're able to put a little bandage on the wound. Right? Hey, Jamal Mosley, you smart for this one, right? Notice, because as this pass gets thrown to Paulo, watch what Jonathan Isaac does. He cuts through, and now Paulo immediately turns his head as soon as he touches the ball. And now what does he turn his head to look at? Donovan Mitchell. What does Donovan Mitchell do? He clears out, which now catching from that right elbow shows he has that whole baseline to go, and he just spins, turns that whole corner, and ends up getting that layup right there and then. Literally cleared out the player as the pass was thrown so they could even recognize the fact Paulo was getting the ball on the mismatch. Remember the foul trouble I told y'all about with Franz, right? He had 2 in that first, and now we're right inside the halfway mark of the second quarter. And so what's going to happen now with Franz having 2 fouls is that he's going to now end up picking up this 3rd foul because Donovan Mitchell, when he sees Franz, he sees red. And now what's going to end up occurring? He's going to be out the game. And the next time that he gets into the game, y'all got to really understand this. It's in the second half. And if we're speaking in real time, he did not miss 6 minutes. He missed of real time, probably about 45 minutes of play. And I'm not saying, oh, damn, if he didn't get in foul trouble, the rest were on his side, then we wouldn't be in the situation. No, because you as a player were the one to make every single one of those fouls. You could have prevented it. So all the accountability, even on the fouls, goes on Franz himself. No excuse for what transpired. And so by the time you get into a game, it's going to be tough to get your rhythm when you've been sitting down for about 45 minutes, 50 minutes because of fouls you committed. Gotta make sure I emphasize that. You as in Franz himself. So he got to hold himself accountable. And what ends up just occurring in the second half as a whole, goose egg for 9. Goose egg for 9. Goose egg for 9. Because he now, boom, pull back shot. Let me get into my jumper. No rhythm. Miss. When it comes down to especially playing within the playoffs, you got to understand tendencies. And you got to understand when players operate best in certain spots. For Paulo, if you just really watch his game, you'll know that he does not go to his left, right? He don't use this hand. He just used this hand the whole time, but yet he still had 38 and 16. Crazy. That's wild, right? And so understanding that he just uses this hand and never uses this hand, watch what's about to transpire in this play and multiple plays going forward. He ends up being on the left side of the floor, attacks left, loses the ball, turnover right there and then. And now, all right, now we're getting down to this third quarter, right? Let's begin just to see the tendencies because the tendencies are going to show one's efficiency. So understand now, you got this little cross screen, back screen from Gary Harris so Paulo could get this catch in the mid-post area, right? Left side of the floor. What is he able to get out of this isolation like he did with Evan Mobley earlier in the game? He's got Isaac Okoro trying to post up, spin. He can't create nothing for himself. But this is what's a red flag, right? Is that we've only seen 2 times thus far in this game alone that Paulo is unsuccessful going to his left and operating left. And if you just think of his tendency, he doesn't go left. But now when you end up finding something that does work and you don't do it, it doesn't make sense. And so when you end up getting here and running this pick and roll on this left side with your 2 best players, right? Your 2 best, Franz and Paulo, for the first time all game, what are you able to generate? A pick and pop 3 for Paulo on the left side. Boom, that's his 3rd 3 of the game. You got a good look from that. But I ain't never seen them run this action one more time for the rest of the game. But you know what they did run another time? Paulo going to his left. Another back cross screen, whatever, from Gary Harris. And now, boom, let's ISO on the left side of the floor. And now let Paulo cook. What does Paulo cook when he goes left? Fade away to that left. Boom. Terrible shot. Especially with the amount of time even left in the shot clock. Now, 12 left, that's the shot you take. He's not comfortable. All you got to do is send him to the other side. Run the action to the other side. But notice what even happens again, right? You probably thought, oh, all right, 3 times. 4 times? Come on, man. Let's see what he's able to cook when he gets these ISOs on the left side of the floor. He gets a switch of Strus, cut by Mo Wagner, leave him empty on this side, and now let's see what he cooks up. Let's see. Another terrible shot. 9 left on the shot clock. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? If you know he's not good going a certain direction, why continuously do so? You got Franz on his weak side guarding Max Strus, right? Donovan Mitchell gets into the paint, and Franz is guarding the top of the key. This is a very tricky spot to play defense because you're taught to see both your man and the ball. But at the top of the key, with the ball being in the paint, you're going to have to position your body in a weird way. So what is Franz going to do in this situation? He's going to end up turning his back completely so that he can just see the ball and his man is behind him, so he can't see what Strus is doing. He could only assume. So what ends up happening, Mitchell misses that, hoping that they get that rebound. Ball gets thrown out here. You follow the ball instead of following who you should have been seeing. And now what ends up happening, Strus gets loose, gets his 3 from the right wing, and then knocks that one down. Boom, he gets that. But not just that 3 right there, right? Notice what ends up occurring again defensively guarding Max Strus. You're guarding a shooter. Now guarding a shooter, you got to chase everything over. And now how do you chase over screens? The most important thing when it comes down to getting over screens is leading so you could chase that outside shoulder. And if you do get by the screen, lead in turn to get skinny with that inside shoulder, right? So your frame just gets skinnier instead of being out so wide, right? And so notice how Franz begins to guard on this play, right, with Max Strus. You're supposed to stay attached. You're just holding on to him. I don't know why you're holding on to him. I don't know why he's gripping his waist and in the stomach like that when you're supposed to keep your body attached and not just your hands. Because the second that he's just able to sprint out, you now do not have that. He now has all that space, right? He has all the space he needs because he just got loose from your hands. You got to be body to body, no diddy, right? Body to body, you got to be body to body, no diddy. And now notice the navigation on the screen. Lead with that inside shoulder, like I said, get skinny. He ain't do that. He gets clipped. Strus now pulls that 3 once again from the right wing. Boom, 2 threes at the end of this 3rd quarter. They turn it up. But the most important part about that is that Franz was 1 for 15, right? Franz was 1 for 15. Appreciate that sub, Bogart. But Franz was 1 for 15. And so just understanding that, he had 6 points total, right? 4 free throws. Max Strus had 13. And now this game in the playoffs is not just a game of, who could be able to ISO one-on-one their matchup better and be able to get more points. It's about who you're matching up against and can you outscore them if you're just playing totals, right? If we're keeping it as simple as it can be. Who is able to produce more? Franz had 6. I don't know how many assists, maybe 1 or 2, but I know Max Strus got 13 points. So that's a -7. That's a -7 right there and then. So you got to make sure you win that matchup. Even if you don't want to compare Franz and Max Strus. Let's now compare the number 2s. Franz even has 6. Darius Garland or Evan Mobley, I promise you had more than that. Lost the matchup right there and then. You got to make sure you win that matchup. And if you don't do that in matchups in the playoffs, it's going to be tough to win games. On these screens that Franz is about to set right here with Paulo, it's vital that you set a good screen, Because watch what Franz does. He sets this and tries to slip out to the middle, just get out into that space, right? But understand, if he decided to sit here, actually hold the screen and hit a Coro, you know the amount of pressure that you'll put on Max Strus when Paulo decides to go along this baseline and you got a Coro who's chasing over the top, right? You know how much pressure that would be? And now that would force Strus to leave, and then that would open up the slip to the middle. And then that way you'll be able to get a bucket. Or else Strus may have to switch, and then a Coro, boom, is on Franz. And now you have Strus on Paulo, who's a favorable matchup. And now you cannot overlook this too, man. Franz, you got to lock in. Franz got to lock in. Franz got to lock in. All he really need to do, get that 3-point percentage up to around back to 36 plus. Really, I would love to see a 38, and that's going to open up everything else. That's all I want to see right there. All I want to see.